a lot of y'all would get fired. A question that I get asked a lot is what I would do if I had any sort of control over the direction of Marvel Comics, let's say. For starters, there's not a chance in hell that would ever happen. They wouldn't even bring me in as a consultant. But I figured that this is a good thought exercise, so here's what I'd do if I had any sort of control over Marvel Comics. We can't talk about what I do until we fly through what I see are the biggest problems. Marvel right now has a quality problem. There are simply too many books, which has created a climate in which people that have no business writing comics are in control over some pretty classic characters in one way, shape, or form. So a lot of the issues are centered around the content, and that would be the main thing that I'd address. And here would be my first course of action. I would love to end many of the current comic lines immediately, but for the sake of transition, 3/4 at least of the current Unlimited series would be canceled. And I'd have my publicists get this announcement out to the press immediately. Within a couple of months, these comics would have to be ended. First to be canceled would be these goofy ass side characters that have no business having their own series, such as like Miss Marvel, Moon Girl and the Devil Dinosaur, even Miles Morales, Spider-Man, Shuri, Spider-Gwen, Ironheart, and so forth. Then I'd get rid of some of the goofy teams such as the current champions and the runaways. After that, I go down the list of current comic books that are solid ideas but have questionable writing teams in terms of where they are taking the characters, such as even like the current Black Panther. The objective is to analyze the current series and cancel all of the mediocre and bad material so that we can trim the fat. The number one focus for me would be to try to streamline everything and emphasize the legacy, continuity, and canon. In doing so, I can acknowledge the current and loyal comic book fan that is at the comic book shop every Wednesday, but I can also simplify things which will make it easier for newer potential customers to jump right in. As it stands right now, it's intimidating because there's so many conflicting events going on right now. The example that I spoke about regarding Spider-Man is how there are so many versions of Spider-Man out right now, most of which take place in the main universe. There's no reason to have Symbiote Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, and Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man going on at the same damn time. Until we've been able to establish some sort of momentum and understanding the continuity, there will not be multiple headliners by way of the same single character. So I would merge Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man, for example. That approach could change in the future, but we gotta lay that foundation. So once the fat has been trimmed with the books, I'd clean house on editors and creative directors that aren't really doing their jobs. Now I have positions to fill and only a handful of books and writers that exist before I got there. I recognize that this is a radical change, but I don't think y'all understand how bad it is and how bad it's gotten. Current fans cannot keep up with the characters they love. They are doing too much, and the books cost too damn much. It shouldn't cost you $1 million a week to keep up with your favorite guys because they're showing up in 90 books. But getting back to the positions, I get a new team and collaborate with them to decide what additional books and characters we want to be put out there, since we have a quarter of what we had previously. The objective would be to keep this list as small as we can. I don't want to end up with the same amount of books as before, as that would defeat the whole purpose. We get our flagship fan favorites their own books, and we figure out which additional characters are deserving enough to have their own series, as well as figuring out what team matchups and mashups we're going to have. It would be important that those teams do not have conflicting events with those that have their own series. Yes, this is difficult, but once we've sort of trimmed that fat, we can be more cohesive with it, even if it means coming up with some official current timelines that is placed on our website. Remember, continuity and canon are the things we are going to prioritize going forward with a new Marvel. At least I would. So as we are picking up writers, it is quality over everything else. No diversity hires, and I don't care who you know. In fact, I would quiz every single potential writer on the history of the established character that they are trying to pick up. Nothing too serious, but a quiz at least to see if they actually even understand the damn character. I don't care how good you are. If you are new to the character or completely unfamiliar with them, you will not be writing for Marvel. Your job as a writer is to not just take an established character and simply tell some random story with them in it. Your job is to take that character and write new, fresh stories that operate within the context of the history and the behavior of the character. I don't care what race or gender you are, as again, there are no quotas. There are no diversity hires either. I want the best of the best so you can leave your social agenda at the door or take that mess to some other comic book company. What will not happen is you trying to inject your personal, social, and political agenda into the character just because you want to see it played out. They are not your open canvases as such, and the editors need to be on they shit. We want to have some fun, we want to make it fun, but we also want to honor the legacy. So a foundation would have to get laid, and it all starts with trimming that fat. This process will allow us to pick up the cream of the crop writers. And of course, not everything will work out. Some characters may not have the anticipated market response, but that's when we go back to the drawing board instead of trying to force them to the forefront, though that's clearly not something that the people want. Captain Marvel. I want a more comprehensive sort of universe. You need to be able to understand where your favorite characters are, and the events that take place in the comic books need to coincide with other events. Characters' actions need consequences, and the best writers can make this happen while making the character feel like the character. I have not even scratched the surface of what else I do, but now you at least know where I'm at, what I do first, and why. Maybe this is a series on YouTube that I can start. I don't know. We'll see.